The sky above Earth had darkened to an ominous charcoal gray by the time the first SciFi vessels descended. Even the most hardened meteorologists could not recall such abrupt storms without warning. Across every continent, people stopped in their tracks, craning their necks skyward as streaks of pale blue fire carved paths through the atmosphere, signatures of something both ancient and terrifying. In Nairobi, Dr. Amina Shah stood on the rooftop observatory of the Global Xenobiology Institute, her normally steady breath catching in her throat. She had devoted her life to understanding Earth's most remarkable creatures. But this was something she had never anticipated. Through the observatory's high-powered scope, she watched one of the colossal ships slow to a silent hover. It was shaped like an inverted pyramid, its reflective surface absorbing sunlight until it became almost invisible against the roiling clouds. On the bridge of the flagship, Aeschylus, Admiral Volux leaned forward in his crystalline command chair, triangular eyes narrowing in contempt. Around him, dark armored officers murmured quietly, sharing excited whispers that bounced off the obsidian walls. They had watched reconnaissance streams of Earth's data, wild, untamed jungles, sprawling savannas dotted with grazing beasts, and the prideful displays of hunters throughout history. Bows pulled taut, nets cast over stampeding herds, and throbbing rifle bores glinting under the sun. To the Zaire call, these antiquated practices were the last flickers of a primitive species. They dare call themselves hunters? Volux's voice was a low rasp, heard by every officer through. They're neural uplinks. I have seen parasites on the underside of moons with more sophistication. He waved a slender hand, and the main holoprojection flickered to life, showing a montage of Earth's ritual hunts, Maasai warriors chasing elands across the Serengeti, North American trappers skinning beaver pelts, Arctic Inuits spearing seals on the ice. Each clip was accompanied by the symphony of Volux's cruel laughter. Back on Earth, government scrambled jets and battleships readied their missile batteries, but no human commander dared fire first. The Zaire call made no aggressive move. Instead, they continued broadcasting edited highlights of Earth's hunts to every screen, every radio wave, and every personal device. It was psychological warfare of the highest order, to break our spirit before a single plasma bolt was fired. In London, within the marble halls of the United Nations Emergency Summit, delegates argued heatedly. U.S. Secretary General Maria Gomez slammed her gavel in frustration. Their broadcast calls us savage. They mock our heritage, our cultures, everything that has kept us alive since the dawn of civilization. True, conceded Ambassador Wei Jiang of China. But how do we respond? Our most advanced weapons can't even scratch their shields. Murmurs of assent circled the room like restless ghosts. Meanwhile, in a hidden chamber beneath the Siberian tundra, General Pavel Volkov tapped his gloves against the console. Sir, reconnaissance of the landing pads shows no conventional defenses, reported the holographic form of his chief of intelligence. Their shields repel all electromagnetic scans. Kinetic strikes have proven useless. Volkov's pale face hardened. Then we must fight on their terms. He paused, glancing at the single battered crate beside him. Prepare the honey badger initiative. At the edge of the Serengeti, the golden grasses swayed gently under a bruised sky. A flash of movement, a honey badger streaked black and white, padded along the termite mounds, whiskers twitching. To any casual observer, it was just another creature of Earth's teeming biosphere. But to Dr. Amina Shah, this animal represented defiance incarnate. In the Institute's subterranean aviary mass doors, hidden beneath layers of concrete, Amina greeted her prize subject. "Good morning, Molly," she said softly, offering a piece of smoked meat. Molly snarled happily, snapping up the treat. Over 2 decades, Amina had studied every facet of the honey badger, its bone-crushing jaw strength, its resistance to venoms, and its uncanny problem-solving abilities. In Miley's bright, intelligent eyes, she saw the spark of something more emotional intelligence rare, even among higher mammals. "Molly, you're going to be our champion," Amina whispered, running a gloved hand along the badger's course. "Fur, they think Earth's hunters are primitive. They don't know what true tenacity is." Deep within the Ziracal's war library, decrypted transmissions from Amina's lab surfaced on Volix's command deck. The holographic dossier summarized her covert experiments, neural interface collars, rapid gene splicing prototypes, plans for a telepathically linked brood, but Volix only scoffed. "They attempt to defy the natural order. A mere rodent, do they truly believe it will protect them?" Yet even as the Zircal dismissed the threat, Earth's clandestine networks prepared. Across hidden laboratories and biodomes beneath Antarctica, in repurposed missile silos in Kazakhstan, and in abandoned aerodromes across the American Midwest, scientists and military engineers worked in shadow. They believed their world government's last gambit lay not in missiles or jets, but in the honey badger, nature's own warrior. Night fell, thick and suffocating. Cities dimmed their lights, following a planet-wide blackout ordered by the UN to complicate targeting by the aliens. On the grasslands outside Nairobi, Amina led Mali to a disguised transport carrier, its doors humming open. Inside, dozens of honey badgers, each outfitted with a sleek, metallic collar, waited patiently, their stripes dimly illuminated by the carrier's internal lights. "They're ready," Amina reported via secure channel to General Volkov, whose voice crackled through her earpiece. "Let the Zircal mock us if they will. Tonight, they will learn what cunning, ferocity, and sheer stubbornness can achieve." In orbit, the Zircal Armada recalibrated weapons, preparing an orbital purge. "Once we demonstrate our power," Admiral Volix intoned, "Earth's beasts will finally kneel." But below, hidden in the shadows, a new breed of hunter was awakening, one that would soon rewrite the fate of two worlds. Dawn broke over the scrubland outside Nairobi, casting long shadows across the dew-drenched grass. Inside the hidden corridors of the Global Xenobiology Institute, Dr. Amina Shah stood before a circular holoprojector, its pale blue light illuminating her furrowed brow. Around her, a handful of specialists, ethologists, geneticists, neuroengineers huddled over data streams and live video feeds. "Review the telemetry," Amina ordered, tapping the console. On one screen, Molly prowled through a mock savanna enclosure. On another, biofeedback gauges measured her heart rate, stress hormones, and neural activity. The honey badger's breathing was steady, but its eyes flicked toward the camera with keen interest, always searching, always calculating. For centuries, the honey badger had held a near-mythical status among Earth's peoples. Ancient San rock paintings, hidden in the caves of southern Africa, depicted a small, striped beast confronting a massive lion, its jaws clamped firmly around the predator's ear. Nomadic tribes in India honored it as Sarasvati's courageous child, believing it guided lost travelers through monsoon floods. In the dense rainforests of Borneo, indigenous hunters wove tales of a forest hermit that could unravel the most intricate snares set by poachers. Amina clicked through her research logs, each entry more astounding than the last. 2007, Kaziranga Reserve. A honey badger evaded a pack of dholes by outmaneuvering them through a narrow cave system, emerging unscathed, while 3 dholes succumbed to exhaustion. 2012, Nile Delta. Local fishermen reported a badger that stole fish directly from gillnets, avoiding electrified barriers by biting through live wires and dissipating the current. 2018, Kalahari Desert. One was filmed prying open an armored pangolin burrow by using a broken antler as a lever, requiring dexterity once thought impossible for any mustelid. Each anecdote hints at extraordinary problem-solving, mused Dr. Raj Patel, the Institute's lead ethologist. He leaned forward, tapping a diagram of Molly's neural scans. But the real breakthrough came when we mapped her synaptic density. It rivals that of some primates. Amina nodded. That's why we chose the honey badger for this initiative. Their baseline intelligence, combined with their resilience, makes them perfect candidates. She turned to Dr. Elena Korsakov, who was fitting a neural interface collar onto a juvenile badger. How are the telepathic link trials progressing? Elena glanced up, eyes bright behind her goggles. Surprisingly well. Pop Alpha responded to simple commands within 20 minutes. Seek, dig, evade. By the third session, we had two-way communication. I could feel a tug in my mind when Pop Alpha detected pheromones in the soil. A hushed excitement rippled through the team. Outside the reinforced windows, the colony of enhanced badgers played in the morning light, tails flicking as they bounded over obstacle courses designed to test agility and coordination. Yet for all the applause and high fives, Amina's thoughts drifted to the wider world, the same world that the Zirkal ridiculed. In underground forums, human survivors clung to hope, whispered prayers to the badger mother, viral memes celebrating her ferocity, and grassroots movements to breed her likeness on every continent. On cracked smartphone screens, people posted images of homemade honey badger amulets, believing they might deflect alien scanners. Amina remembered her childhood in Karachi, where her grandmother told her that the badger was a spirit guardian, born when the first desert lightning struck a termite mound. She teaches us, her grandmother would say, that size matters little when courage is boundless. That lesson, once folklore, had become a beacon for a species on the brink of extinction. Suddenly, a warning ping echoed through the lab. A red symbol blinked on the main holoscreen. Zirkal Overwatch Patrol incoming. The team froze. A live feed flashed images of sleek alien drones sweeping the plains, their sensor beams scanning every inch for hidden life. Switch to stealth mode, Amina ordered. The lights dimmed. The badger's collars emitted a low-frequency pulse that masked their thermal signatures. On the monitor, the drone's beams swept just inches above the tall grass, oblivious to the burrow entrances cleverly concealed beneath. Down in the flagship Ischilus, Admiral Volix glared at his tactical display. Where are their weapons of mass destruction? He snarled. Only vermin and shadows. He twisted a dial, enlarging a hollow projection of a honey badger skull. This creature is nothing but a scavenger. Whole planets choke on vermin yet. We have no quarrel with rodents. But in that moment, a subtle blip appeared on his screen, an anomalous energy signature deep beneath the Serengeti. It pulsed with a rhythmic pattern too deliberate to be natural geological activity. Volix's triangular eyes narrowed. Track that anomaly, he ordered. I want to know what Earth conceals in the darkness. Below, in the hidden labs and bunkers of Earth's defenders, the honey badgers paused their games, noses twitching, as if sensing the Leviathan threat above. And in that pregnant silence, a promise echoed through every hidden chamber. The legend was only just beginning. End of Chapter 2. Next, Operation Badger Storm ignites the battle. Under the shroud of a new moon, the world held its breath. In the abandoned aerodrome north of Khartoum, half-buried hangars glowed with the pulse of clandestine activity. Inside Hangar 7, engineers and biotechnicians moved with deliberate purpose, adjusting servo-driven enclosures and loading syringes of gene-splicing nanofluid. At the center of it all stood General Marcus Reyes, flanked by Dr. Amina Shah and her inner circle. Tonight, Reyes began, voice resolute, we unleash Earth's unexpected army. He tapped a digital map projected above the tarmac, where dozens of launch tubes camouflaged to resemble rusty fuel silos loomed in the darkness. Each tube housed a squad of enhanced honey badgers, primed for subterranean assault. Our target, the Zircon landing zone in the Serengeti. We'll collapse their shields from beneath and force them into close quarters where our champions excel. Amina double-checked the row of freshly minted collars. Neuralink is stable. They'll operate as a hive mind, sharing sensory data instantly. If one badger spots an alien patrol, the rest adjust in milliseconds. Dr. Korsakov, ever the pragmatist, frowned. Their physiology endures venom and high G-forces. But this is the first real combat test. We must anticipate failures. Reyes offered a grim smile. Failures in training don't cost lives. Failures tonight cost us the planet. Get your teams ready. Across the plains, the Zircal's mighty tripods, each as tall as an ancient. Sequoia drank power from solar collectors that glinted under the stars. Beneath those towering legs, armored infantry strode in perfect formation, plasma rifles clutched at their waists. In the flagship Aeschylus, Admiral Volix monitored the feed, his scornful gaze never wavering. "Let them come," he murmured. These creatures know only brute force. Unseen by the invader, midnight tremors rippled through the ground. One by one, the buried launch tubes hissed open, disgorging squads of honey badgers into the cool earth. Coated in adaptive camouflage gel, they slipped like living stones through hidden tunnels, navigating by seismic feedback and pheromone markers dotted the heart of the landing zone. 2 tripods loomed, guard teams patrolling their bases. Suddenly, an explosion. A subterranean charge breached the shield generator's foundation. Sparks arced upwards as honey badgers poured into the breach, their razor-sharp claws cutting coolant lines and biting through plasma conduits. High above, shields flickered and collapsed. Volix's display blinked warnings in alien glyphs. "Deploy. Countermeasures," he roared. On the surface, the tripods belched beams of searing light into the earth. But the badgers were gone, evading dynamic scanning by burrowing laterally, then resurfacing to disable power nodes. Each collapse of a shield module sent the massive machines reeling, their elegant legs buckling in mechanical agony in the chaos. Human ground teams sprung from camouflage bunkers. Armored carriers rolled onto the scorched grass, deploying M-pen nets that entangled alien infantry. As plasma rifles overloaded in sparks, human soldiers surged forward, planting demolition charges on crippled tripods. But the true marvel was the honey badger's strategy. They formed a moving phalanx, pressing deeper into the alien perimeter. Pup Alpha, the Neuralink leader, guided the pack toward the central command pod, slyly avoiding clusters of enemy fire. When cornered, the badgers emitted a piercing shriek, an ultrasonic pulse that rattled delicate Zaire call circuitry, momentarily freezing troopers in place. Through the neural collars, Amina felt their exhilaration and their pain. 2 badgers fell to disintegration beams. She winced. "Hold formation," she whispered. General Reyes, watching the live feed, barked orders. "Focus on the generators. Once their power grid is offline, the Armada's orbitals will be blind." Below the largest tripod, a wedge of honey badgers struck the final conduit. With a chorus of mechanical shrieks, the generator collapsed. The sky beyond the Serengeti shimmered as orbital lasers once poised the planet sputtered and vanished. Admiral Volix hovered in stunned silence. "Impossible, rodents. Defying orbital supremacy?" His voice trailed as every Zircal vessel lost power locks. "Retreat," he finally commanded, but his words echoed hollowly through a crippled network. On the ground, as the last shield fizzled and the tripods convulsed, the honey badgers emerged victorious. Their sleek forms, caked in alien ichor, stood triumphant among the smoldering wreckage. Pup Alpha lifted her muzzle to the sky and released a triumphant howl that rippled across the continent. Humanity exhaled in unison. Across radios and encrypted channels, shouts of victory soared. The underestimated had become the conquerors. In the flickering glow of dawn's first light, the world bore witness to the indomitable force of Earth's most unlikely hero, the honey badger. The air above the Serengeti trembled with the roar of retreating Zyakal vessels. One by one, the sleek black pyramids that had once blotted out the stars bent their obsidian bows and surged skyward, their plasma thrusters sputtering as power cores died. On the ground, a hush fell over the battlefield, only to be shattered by elated cheers as human soldiers and honey badgers alike realized the invaders were fleeing. General Marcus Reyes stood atop a battered tripod's fallen leg, surveying the wreckage. Beside him, Dr. Amina Shah cradled Pup Alpha, lead honey badger, in a makeshift sling. Each of the survivors bore scars, shredded fur, scorched claws, and the haunted look of warriors who had seen beyond the veil of death. Yet in their eyes burned a fierce intelligence, a primal joy in the knowledge that they had saved a world. "Hold on," Amina whispered, stroking Pup Alpha's flank. "You did it." "You," she broke off as an alarm crackled from her comms. "General, I'm picking up a distress beacon from the Ischilus command pod." Race's brow furrowed. "The flagship? They're not all retreating?" He checked his holomap. One vessel still hovered, its shields half-dimmed but not yet collapsed. "They intend to fight to the last." "Not if we board them first," Amina said, voice tight with determination. "Molly and Pup Alpha can lead the way through their interference patterns. We can disable the core from the inside." Reyes nodded. "Let's move." A half-destroyed dropship, hastily repaired with salvaged parts, lifted off from the scorched plain. Inside, Amina, Reyes, and a small strike team flanked by 4 honey badgers hurtled toward the crippled flagship. From the portholes, they watched the alien hull scar under the glow of their thrusters. The great inverted pyramid perched like a wounded leviathan dot with a juddering clang. The dropship latched onto an external service hatch. Explosive bolts blew the door inward, and they spilled into narrow service tunnels. Fluorescent panels flickered, half-powered by emergency conduits. The musty scent of burning circuitry filled the air. Pup Alpha's collar pulsed, projecting mental coordinates into Amina's mind. Corridors to avoid, patrol shifts to exploit. The badgers moved like living shadows, pressing close to the walls, claws clicking softly on the metal floors. Alien sentries, tall, angular figures in reflective armor clattered past, oblivious to the intruders hiding mere meters away. Reyes gestured to a nearby console. "Here, this junction leads to the core chamber." He pressed a gloved hand to an access panel. With a hiss, it slid open, revealing a tangle of glowing conduits. "Cover me," he whispered. As his soldiers formed a protective semicircle, Amina and 2 badgers slipped inside. Pup Alpha's whiskers twitched as she sniffed the air, tail flicking in anxious anticipation. In the core chamber, a massive crystalline matrix hummed with residual power. Volix's holographic avatar drifted before it, expression rigid with fury. "Inferior vermin," he spat as the humans burst in. "You think you have won?" Amina leveled her weapon, a modified EMP disruptor, at the matrix. "No," she said coolly. "We know we have." She pressed the trigger. A pulse of energy rippled outward, cracking the crystalline lattice. The matrix's glow stuttered, faltered, and died. Alarms blared as emergency lockdown doors slammed. Volix's avatar shattered into fractal shards. In his place, the real Admiral appeared, triangular eyes blazing. He lashed out with a plasma whip, forcing Reyes's squad to stagger back. But the honey badgers sprang forward, jaws snapping around his ankles. He screamed in alien fury as they latched on, their neural colors magnifying every sensation. General Reyes raised his detonator. "Time to go," he barked. "Everyone out." They retreated as explosive charges detonated, the core's failure triggering a chain reaction. Corridors buckled, conduits exploded in cascades of light, and a deep rumble shook the flagship's hull. Above them, superstructure began to tear away. On a command deck overlooking the hangar bay, Amina and Reyes emerged just as the final evacuation ramp lowered. Pup Alpha stood at her side, fur steaming with exertion, muzzle raised in a triumphant snarl. The last human troopers and badgers clambered aboard their dropship. With a thunderous roar, the flagship's heart gave out. A shock wave hurled them clear of the collapsing hatch as the entire vessel fractured, unfolding like a dying star. Fire and metal rained toward the heavens. The flagship imploded, leaving behind a vast, silent monument of wreckage. Back on solid ground, under the pale glow of the surviving armada's once mighty ships, humanity stood united. Soldiers embraced, tears streaking dirt and soot. Scientists cheered alongside tribal elders in ceremonial garb. Everywhere, people lifted honey badgers to their shoulders, grinning as the creatures sniffed proudly at the celebration. General. Reyes placed a hand on Amina's shoulder. "We could not have done this without them," he said quietly. "Without you." Amina knelt beside Pup Alpha and Molly, offering them fresh water and scraps of meat. The badgers lapped gratefully, then rubbed their heads against her legs. "You were born for this," she murmured, voice thick. "You are Earth's fiercest hunters." As dawn broke, a single Zyrcal shuttle descended, triangular silhouette dark against the sunrise. From its ramp emerged Admiral Volix Humboldt, broken but alive, and a small delegation of emissaries. They approached the human lines, hands raised in a gesture of truce. On the ground, cheers gave way to hushed anticipation. Amina rose, Pup Alpha at her heels, and met Volix's gaze. He bowed his head in respect, the first such gesture an alien had ever made to humanity. "Your planet's hunters exceed all expectations," he said, voice low and reverent. "We come to seek peace." Across the plains, honey badgers twitched their ears at the solemn moment. Beneath the vast African sky, two species forged an unlikely alliance born in mockery, tempered in battle, and united by the indomitable will of Earth's smallest warrior. End of Chapter 4. Thus concludes the saga of how humans, aided by nature's fiercest underdog, turned the tide against the stars.